Film number 5 on data networks is about 2 important network servers that you will find, and also a short intro to addressing in TCP/IP based networks. First of all, the first server that you will find is a proxy server. A proxy server is in many systems, like I have a proxy server on my own computer, but in larger networks it's a dedicated server, it's a dedicated computer, which sits between the router, the last router, and the internet connection. So it can also be combined with a gateway, for example, so it will act as both. And it has 2 purposes. One is to keep the nodes behind the server anonymous. So it takes, if it has a message from this computer here, this one, to the internet, it will change the address that the message was sent from and send it onto the internet with its own address. So thereby, this computer here, the proxy server, knows who sent the message, but on the internet it looks like it was the proxy server that sent the message. So for safety reasons or security reasons, it keeps the nodes behind the the internals of the network here. They are anonymous, seen from the outside. And then it can virtually speed up the network by caching. For example, when I read a message here from the Norwegian newspaper VG, if I'm on this computer, I request it from the proxy server. The proxy server requests it from the VG server and stores the data here and forwards it to me. Minutes later, another computer wants the same web page, and since this computer, the proxy server, already has the web page stored, it can simply check if is there a newer web page available. If not, it simply sends the message that it had already. So it might appear very fast for this computer here. Also, if there is available resources on the network, the proxy server may start to download the links that VG, for example, the newspaper VG, has. So when I click on a link from the Norwegian newspaper VG, it looks like I received the new web page very, very fast, because it was already downloaded to the proxy server, if there is available resources on the network here. So you avoid multiple downloads from the same material, you save bandwidth, and you virtually speed up the network by using caching. So it's installed locally on a PC or on a dedicated server, like in this case. Another important server that you find in a network is a firewall server. And also I have a firewall on my computer, but in a larger network it will have a dedicated computer, which is the firewall computer. So you have the LAN, the local area network, and you have the WAN, which is the wide area network. And in between here sits the firewall. The WAN here, of course, it's simply the internet. And the firewall has, in the best cases, it has 2 network cards, one which connects to the wide area network and one which connects to the local area network. And so all the traffic that comes from the outside has to go through the firewall before being sent on to the local area network, and also the other way around. In the firewall software, you will have rules or policies. Rules that deny or gives access, deny or allow traffic. It can also code or decode, cipher and decipher to make messages safe. But the main thing is that it has rules on which web pages I'm allowed to get data from, what kind of data I'm allowed to get, what kind of requests from the outside that are allowed into my network here. So you have so-called policies, and the firewall will analyze every packet that comes from the outside to check if it's safe or not. according to the policies. Now, on to how packets are identified in a TCP/IP based network. And that's a very brief introduction here in this film. I have 3 kinds of addressing on every message that I send from my computer. First of all, there is a local address. And it's the so-called MAC address, which every computer has. You also have an external address, so-called IP address, which my computer also has. And then you have the application part of the address, which is the TCP port number. So that depends on what kind, if it's a mail, if it's a file, or if it's a access for or request for a web page or whatever. And if I were to explain it by using an analogy, that would be that the MAC address could compare to my social security number, because my social security number, of course, that's not my social security number. I would never post that on the internet. But however, if that was my social security number, that's a number that is unique to me, and it was given to me the day I was born. If I move around in Norway, if I move to northern Norway, southern Norway, east and western, I will carry with me my social security number. And the same thing is with the MAC address. The computer that I have has its MAC address on my network card, and it will always carry that number as long as that computer lives. So it's a unique number worldwide. Then I have my IP address, and the IP address is something that is programmed into my computer when I connect to a network. So when I connect to the network at work, I will be given one IP address, and then I take my computer with me home, and I will be given another network address at home. So that is layer 3, because it tells us where that address belongs. So for example, for a postal system, I can compare the IP address to my house address. Pennsylvania Avenue number 5, 5024 Bergen, Norway, for example. That's a unique address for me at the moment, right now. But I can move around carrying with me my social security number, and when I go to work, I have another address. And also when I come to work, I will have another IP address. If I, for example, start my computer at the airport and connect to the network there, I will be given a third IP address. The layer 4 was the port number, and the port number is 80 for web requests, for example, 25 for mail, 20 for file transfer, and so on. So that's unique to the application that I'm using the packet for. And I can compare that to different stables on my desk at home. I can make stables for postcards. Every postcard I receive will go in that stable. And bills, another. Advertising, hobby, mail from the local government, and so on. So and in an email system, I would maybe arrange it in folders. So, but that's the local application-based way of sorting the mail that comes into my house.